Hey, okay, I am back. Now we're going to go over the Aflac Accident Advantage Policy. Okay, this is accident only insurance. You can see it right here, accident only insurance, option 4. If you remember in my introduction with my bio, I actually mentioned that Aflac does not ever have a rate increase, never has, never will. Um, and that about every 3, 4, 5 years they come out with another option or another plan that's more benefit rich. Well, this is option 4. This is the best one that's available currently. Okay. The next one they come out with may be option 5. So just kind of giving you an idea there. So check your email. Hopefully you've got it pulled up. You've got this brochure pulled up in your email, and you're able to watch this video and kind of follow along, and I'll make this as quick as possible. Now, after everything is said and done, we're actually going to hop on a telephone call. We're going to schedule a call, hop on it, and then we'll go over any questions that you have. I'll answer them, and then we'll sign you up over the phone. Okay, I'm just going to kind of skip some of this stuff. This is all bathroom material. You can read over it if you will. I recommend it. And I'm going to get down here to where the good stuff is. Okay, so I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit, so follow me. Right here, this is the first thing I like to talk about, the accident treatment benefit. If you have an accident, and usually when people hear the word accident, they think of something major like a car accident or a hunting accident or something like that, or a gunshot wound, right? Those are accidents, but that's not all that Aflac considers to be an accident. Okay, Aflac considers anything from a broken or chipped tooth, sprained ankle, pulled muscle in your back, if you're picking up something, um, all the way to more fatal gunshot wound or car wreck. All right. What Aflac requires is that you seek treatment within 72 hours. Okay, go to the doctor within 72 hours. If you don't seek treatment within the first 72 hours, Aflac's going to look at it like it wasn't that big a deal. It wasn't, pertinent for you to seek treatment. So remember, 72 hours. Now, that's where this accident treatment benefit comes into play. Now, if you go to any doctor's office or facility other than an emergency room and you don't have x-rays done, this plan's going to pay you $120. Cash money, not taxable. Okay, so if it's an accident and you need to go really quick and you can go to a doctor's office, you can schedule the next day or the next day and go to a doctor's office and it's not an emergency room, you get $120. Now, if you go to any office or facility other than a hospital emergency room and you have an x-ray done, it's going to pay you $150. If you have to go to an emergency room because it's that urgent or that important and you don't have an x-ray done, it's going to pay you $170. And if you have an x-ray done, it's going to pay you $200. Right? So right off the bat, you're somewhere between $120 and $200. Fair enough? Okay. Now the next thing it's going to pay you is a certain amount based on what the actual injury was. So the specified sum injuries benefit. So this is just some examples right here. If it's a dislocation, it can be anywhere from $120 to $4,500 depending on how severe the dislocation is. Okay, fractures anywhere from $150 to $4,000. So basically, the more severe the actual injury was, the more they're going to pay you. An example I give is, let's just say you accidentally cut yourself and they need to give you 10 stitches, right? Well, they may give you $20 per stitch. That's $200 for 10 stitches. But if you break your leg, it may pay you $2,500 because a broken leg is way more severe of an injury than 10 stitches, right? These are just examples. And the way they pay is based off of medical coding. So when you get the paperwork from your doctor, there's going to be codes on it. And Aflac punches in those codes, and there's a certain amount that they pay out based on what the code is. Okay? So that's the second thing they're going to pay you. Now we're going to go back up. A lot of times, if you have an accident and it's severe enough to where you have to go to the emergency room, there's a good chance you're going to stay in the hospital. And this has an initial accident hospitalization benefit. Number 3, if you have an accident and you have to be hospitalized for at least 18 hours, this policy is going to pay you $1,500. Okay, on top of this and on top of the injury benefit. Now, if you have to be admitted directly in the ICU because it's severe enough, it's going to pay you $2,500. This is for the first day, the initial hospitalization. Okay, and it's going to, it will pay you this per covered accident, per calendar year, per covered person. Okay, so if you have an accident 3 times in a year and you have to be hospitalized all 3 times, it's going to pay $1,500 all 3 times. Okay, now if you have to remain in the hospital starting the second day, remember the first day it gives you the $1,500. The second day, it's going to pay you $300 per day that you're in the hospital from that accident, up to 365 days for that accident per covered person. Right? So let's say you're in the hospital for another 10 days. Well, that's going to pay you another $3,000, $300 per day times 10. So this is number 4. Now, if you have to be in ICU, there's an ICU benefit here. Remember, the first day you get $2,500 here, but if you're in ICU, you get an additional $500 per day on top of the $300, so that makes it $800 per day up to the first 15 days. After 15 days, it goes back to the $300. It front loads the policy, gets a bunch of money to you and your family so they can pay the bills. They can be at the hospital with you, taking care of you and not worrying about the fact that you're losing all this income and there's all these medical bills and stuff that you guys got to worry about paying, right? Focus on getting better. Now, if the accident is severe enough as well, there's a ambulance benefit. If you have to take an ambulance, most people don't know this, but health insurance does not pay for you to take a ride in an ambulance. They will send that bill directly to your house, and it's anywhere from $2,500 to $7,500 depending on how far they have to travel if it's by ground. Okay, if you have an accident and you have to take a ambulance by ground, the accident policy is going to pay you $250, and if you have to be life flight, it's going to pay you $1,875. But I can tell you, life flight is anywhere from $15,000 to $30,000 that you get billed. So try not to be life flighted if you can help it. A lot of different benefits like blood and plasma benefit here. I'm not going to go over that. Major diagnostic. That's pretty important because that's like your CT scan, your MRI, stuff like that, which typically happens if you have x-rays and stuff, $250 per calendar year. Follow-up treatment, $40 each time you go back for a follow-up treatment, up to 6 times per covered accident, per person. Therapy, if you have to go, let's say you twisted your ankle or broke your ankle, right? And you got to go back for a follow-up treatment to make sure that it's healing correctly. It's going to pay you $40 each time you go back to the doctor, up to 6 times. Then they may have you on physical therapy. It's going to pay you another $40 per treatment, up to 10 treatments for that accident. Okay, and you broke your ankle, they're going to give you some crutches, right? Well, they give you some crutches, you're also going to get $120 here. This is a huge benefit, right? And you can see these are just examples again: walker, walking boot, cane, knee scooter, etc. If you have to have any type of appliance due to an accident. I will tell you this: if you're at the hospital and you have health insurance and you have twisted your ankle or your knee or something like that, and you think that you can walk on it and be fine, tell them you want some crutches. You're going to get $120 for it. There's this prosthesis benefit of $1,000 once per covered accident. Let's hope you don't need that. Repair, replacement, rehabilitation, that's a rehab unit, $200 per day. Home modification, now this is huge. $4,000 once per covered accident per covered person. So let's say you're in a car wreck and you break both your legs. Well, now you've got to be in a wheelchair, right? And most people have stairs at their house. So somebody's going to have to pick you up and carry you and your wheelchair into the house. Well, with this $4,000, you could actually have someone build you a ramp and you could either roll yourself up or somebody else could roll you up into the house. So that helps you modify the home. Another huge benefit. Okay, now down at the bottom, it also has life insurance, accidental death life insurance. Okay, this is huge because sometimes people do die from an accident. Now, you are covered for $200,000 if it's a common carrier accident. Common carrier means that you paid for a ticket to be on a plane, train, bus, or boat. And if there was an accident and you died, Aflac would pay your spouse or your beneficiary $200,000. Now, if you're covering your spouse, they're also covered for $200,000, and any children are covered for $30,000 each. That's for common carrier. If it's any other accident other than a common carrier, right, a regular accident, you and your spouse are covered for $50,000 each, and your children are covered for $15,000 each. Basically, realistically, 1 year's replacement of salary and just enough, to bury the children. If you die due to an hazardous activity accident, it's only going to cover you for 10, your spouse for 10, and your children for 5. What does that mean? Hang gliding, rock climbing, bungee jumping, parachuting, things like that are considered hazardous activities. Okay. There's an accidental dismemberment benefit anywhere from $3,000 to $50,000. That's important. And this is key here. Everybody likes this part. It has a wellness benefit. So starting month 13 on, which is basically the second year, if anyone that's covered by this policy goes to a doctor for any reason, it's only going to pay one time per policy. But if anybody goes to any doctor for any reason, this plan will actually pay you $60 once per calendar year. So if the kids go to the dentist, it'll pay $60. If you go get your eyes checked, it'll pay $60. If you go for a DOT physical, it'll pay $60. But it's only going to pay $60 one time for the policy period, not one time every time anybody goes to the doctor or for a physical. Okay, just $60 one time. Also, it has a family support benefit, $20 per day up to 30 days. Let's look at transportation benefit. This is huge. $700 per round trip, up to 3 round trips per calendar year. And then family lodging of $150 per night, up to 30 days per covered accident. Now, why do I mention this? The accident could be while you're on vacation out of town. The accident could be while you're working out of town. And if either of those things happen, more than likely your family's going to want to be there with you. Visitation hours are typically over somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. The hospital says, hey, you guys can't stay. You got to get a hotel room. You got to travel back and forth. You got to pay for food, things like that. If you have an accident, Aflac will actually pay $700 per round trip, or $150 per night, up to 30 days per covered accident, if you qualify for these two things. Okay. Now, I told you what Aflac considered to be an accident. This plan covers you 24 hours a day on the job and off. You and your kids, 24 hours a day on the job and off. You scroll down, and this gets into the details of it. And again, this is bathroom material, but just read over it. Highlight anything that you've got questions about, circle them, whatever the situation is. That way, when we get on the phone, you'll remember to ask me what the questions were. And I'll give you a great example. So we go down here, there's the wellness benefit, which I was talking about. That's huge. And it's also got a waiver of premium benefit. All of Aflac's policies have a waiver of premium benefit. Definitely read that. It says if you, due to injury sustained in a covered accident, are completely unable to do all the usual and customary duties of your occupation or any occupation whatsoever for more than 180 days while the policy is in force, Aflac will waive from month to month any premiums falling behind. That's huge. They won't make you pay your Aflac premium, and they'll keep they'll keep paying you if you're able to file a claim. Transportation benefit. This goes over all of the transportation benefit that I was just telling you about a second ago in family lodging. And then it continues. Okay, it's not a whole lot to read, but you definitely want to look over it and then write down or highlight or circle any questions you got. That way we can go over it. Okay, that concludes the Aflac accident policy.